Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This is Afshan Khan from Sukoon Healing. So this is part 2 of talking about narcissism and parents. What do you do if you have parents who are narcissistic, and also depression or bipolar? How do you treat them? Because obviously in the Quran and the Prophet ﷺ and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we've been told what a high status parents have. So people are confused. What do we do in this circumstances? Because sometimes when I do post something about parents and then I get a reply, oh, but what happens if my parents abuse me? Or what happens if my parents are like this or doing this to me? And even now they're doing the same thing to me. Should I just break ties with them? What shall I do? So as I started to tell you in the first video, I'll just repeat some of the things. Number one, to understand, many people may not think it's a mental illness, but is a personality disorder. I have my own views on that because being in this field for a very long time, sometimes I feel it is like having some kind of sickness. And how I would describe that, and I say this to my clients many times, for example, if you're living with somebody who has a narcissism and they have, for example, they have some other illness, for example, asthma. Every time they have an asthma attack, would you say that's your fault? You wouldn't. But that is also an illness, isn't it? It's a physical illness. You can see it. Sometimes disorders are sometimes people don't think that, okay, because we can't see it. But it's there. You know, if you have depression, it's there. You will act accordingly. So what do you have to do is every time, like I've explained to you, gaslighting, blaming, giving you the guilt trip, you're never good enough as a child, you're a burden to me, these are things. When these things come up when you're an adult, then you have to understand, you take a step back and you think with your brain, not with your heart. And you think to yourself, okay, I think I've discovered perhaps my mum or my dad may have a disorder, and so they're just acting out. So whenever they act out, and this is what we call emotional detachment, you actually move away, think with your brain, and let a shield come down, which actually protects you from their words. So because now you're thinking, okay, they have some sort of disorder, illness or sickness, if you want to call it that, and they are going to react exactly as they're reacting. Now, what do I do as an adult now? So what I do is I think, okay, mom seems really angry right now, so I'm just going to walk away. So you don't react, because what they want from you is a reaction. Now, you don't have to, you can still show respect. You don't have to shout or scream, but you can say in a very assertive tone that, Mum, I think this is incorrect, or Father, this is incorrect. So, but that's your opinion and I'm going to leave you to it. Most times what narcissistic people don't like to hear, I'm sorry you feel that way, but that's your opinion. Because what they want you to do is obviously get on the emotional roller coaster, be really hurt, because when they see you really hurt, really upset, that's what they want. They want you to argue with them. So just the best thing is to act accordingly to whatever. For example, if somebody has bipolar now, how would that rule apply that you have to be obedient to your parents or parents who have bipolar? They may in the morning just get up and say, well, I'm quitting work and I'm just going to travel the world, because obviously they have depression. They have a form of depression. If somebody is very depressed, I've heard many stories of children being brought up with parents who have been depressed, and nobody actually talks to them. They're left to do whatever they want, and obviously nobody can control depression. So I can't say that's a form of abuse. They did it deliberately, but obviously people need to get help if you have depression. And another thing is, obviously we're still living with the stigma of depression. And sometimes, we don't get the help that we need, and children will grow up with a parent who's depressed because people just don't want to get the help that they should do. And sometimes you cannot heal what you cannot confront. But somebody who has a personality disorder, then they are maybe doing things in a more deliberate fashion to get a response from the child. But as an adult, you have to understand you're an adult, and it's no point trying to explain things. I've heard many sisters say to me that, oh, but my mum said this to me, and I phoned her and I said to her, I need some help. I just had a baby, helping me. And she'll say things like, oh, but you never asked me. If you asked me, I would have come down. But when she does ring up and ask, she says, well, I'm really busy. But the mother will always blame the daughter. She'll never blame herself, because narcissistic people never ever take the blame, or they take any responsibility for the action. They'll always blame you. So then obviously the person doesn't know. So you have to understand, okay, you have to know your expectations. If somebody has this disorder, then you have to know. It's very sad. I'm sure you want your parents' support, but you have to understand, okay, maybe there may be some problem here. So as sad as it is, probably this is my test from Allah that I have to put up with this. The other thing is not to blame yourself. Please do not blame yourself. This is not your fault. You may have felt that as a child, but this is not your fault. This is something that's coming from their childhood. So another thing I would say is to understand where they are coming from. And many times when I ask my clients this, they always say, yes, I think my mum and dad had a very traumatic childhood. Because sometimes in my counselling over 30 years, I feel that's where narcissism is actually born. People may have a different opinion, but I can only go by my experience. So I hope giving you some of these things has helped. But anything else you want to ask me, then please do. And like I said, read the second book. It has more depth in it. And then you can ask any more questions. But I've just given you very generic talk on really what Islam says and on narcissism. And obviously certain rules do not apply. And like I said, many sheikhs are now talking about this, that, you know, if you have abusive parents, what does Islam say about them? So if you have any specific things you need to ask, it's best obviously to ask a sheikh. I hope this has helped, and I hope this has clarified many things. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.